March 13th, 2007, a recording of an event known as the Banned Film Festival was posted onto YouTube. It showcased a collection of movies that weren't available to be publicly released for numerous reasons. The only known film that was shown during the presentation is titled Chopper Down, Helicopter Deaths in the Movies. It focused on how helicopters have become one of the most dangerous hazards in the filmmaking business. It showed examples in which 2 accidents have taken the lives of 6 people back in 1989 alone. The documentary then goes along and lists other tragic helicopter-related accidents, such as the Twilight Zone, which is arguably the most notable in this case. This specific onset disaster occurred on July 23, 1982, when Vic Morrow and child actors Renee Chen and Michael Lee were in the middle of a battle scene set during the Vietnam War. It involved them running away from a helicopter, and to make the scene more dramatic and daunting, special effects such as explosions and pyrotechnics were added. However, this only made things worse. Due to how close the helicopter was in proximity to the set, the explosions made contact with it and detached its rotor, which then caused it to lose control and fatally crash into the victims. An investigation took place, and it came to the conclusion that the helicopter was flying too low to avoid damage from the pyrotechnics and explosions. There was also poor communications between the pilot and film director, John Landis, which eventually led to the death of the 3 victims. The investigation was operated by the NTSB, and heavy regulations were then enforced whenever a helicopter was involved during filming on set, but unfortunately this didn't prevent other disasters from occurring on set, as throughout the 1980s to early 1990s, more deaths and serious injuries occurred during this time period. While bringing up numerous cases of fatal helicopter disasters during filming, Chop Down focused on the accident revolving the filming for Delta Force 2, The Colombian Connection. During film shooting on May 16, 1989, a helicopter carrying 8 film members had taken off in Tagaytay, Philippines. Moments later, a loud boom sound was heard after the helicopter's tail hit a wall, which caused it to become uncontrollable and eventually came crashing down into a 40-foot ravine. The crash led to the deaths of electricians Don Marshall and Mike Graham and cameraman Gadi Singh on point of impact. Pilot Jojo Imperial and actor Jeff Brewer sadly passed away when they were taken to the hospital. The remaining victims all suffered from serious injuries, with one of the actors on board, Mateo Gomez, who initially heard the loud boom sound, almost had to get his right eye amputated due to serious facial injuries. Going back to the film festival, the existence of it is only known due to the documentary Chopper Down being uploaded onto YouTube by one of the festival's attendees. On March 13, 2007, the 12-minute film showcases tragedies surrounding helicopters on film sets, as previously mentioned. Before the documentary begins with its main content, a banned film festival logo appears, followed by another snippet that shows the year 1989, potentially when the film festival occurred. It also shows the reason why it was banned by HBO, as it stated that it might have offended some business partners. As of today, no other information regarding the film and what movies were shown have resurfaced. Michael Schumacher is a German former racing driver who has competed in Formula 1 for Jordan, Benetton, Ferrari, and Mercedes. His love for racing started at a young age, as he started competing for local racing competitions at the age of 4. He had gotten so good at it that by the age of 6, he had won his first kart championship. He continued on with racing, and by 1987, he was the German and European kart champion, in which just 3 years later, he became a full-time F3 driver for Mercedes. Just a year later, Michael made his official F1 debut, which resulted in him qualifying for 7th place in the Jordan for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, where he was then immediately picked up by Benetton. His success with Benetton came quickly as he won his first race with them in 1992. Over his next 4 seasons with Benetton, he won 18 races and 2 world championships. In 1995, he joined Ferrari and won 5 consecutive driving titles from 2000 to 2004. Years had gone by, and by 2010, Michael announced his retirement. However, this was short-lived as he quickly then became a new driver for Mercedes. During his return, Schumacher never won a race and never finished higher than 8th in overall F1 standings. Michael decided that his time was up and just shortly retired 2 years later. Throughout his career, Michael Schumacher garnered over 7 World Drivers' Championship titles, held the records for the most wins, pole positions, and podium finishes. Adding on, he holds the record for the fastest lap and is tied with the most races won in a single season. After his retirement, Michael's love for racing still stays strong, and by 2013, he was still actively involved in the racing scene. However, while in retirement, he still managed to dedicate a portion of his time with his family. One of his favorite activities besides racing is skiing, and one day on December 29, 2013, Michael went skiing with his then 14-year-old child, Mick Schumacher, while skiing on the mountains of the French Alps. They both crossed an unsecured off area. Unfortunately, Michael would suffer from a serious head injury as he fell and hit his head directly on a rock. He was wearing a helmet at the time, but major damage was still inflicted. He was initially conscious upon impact, but was unable to answer questions and was showing erratic behavior. Medics were quick to arrive on scene and immediately called for air extraction. Upon arriving at the hospital, Michael was in an artificial coma and needed immediate surgery on his brain due to heavy bleeding and bruising. It was so tragic and concerning that when Michael was asked about his condition and how he was feeling at the hospital, neurosurgeon Stefan Chabardes explained that he didn't respond to questions after the incident and that he didn't have a normal neurological reaction. This was just the beginning of Michael's recovery, and it took until 4 months later in April 2014 to see some progress, as one of the doctors explained that he was finally showing some signs of consciousness and awakening, and thankfully 2 months later, he was no longer in a coma and he was able to finally leave the hospital. This was clearly a personal and serious situation for both Michael and his family. His overall health and privacy was important to them, but this didn't prevent others from trying to get some more information regarding Michael's health in an unethical manner. Even till this day, many reports have been written surrounding the topic of his health, and while a majority of it is speculation since he's never come forward and actively presented his own health, these online reports claim that what they're saying is factually correct. To show how desperate some people were to get some knowledge about his medical conditions, some people were trying to intervene with Michael and his family while he was still in the hospital. His wife Corinna dealt with a ton of journalists and photographers who tried everything to get a word about her husband's condition. Anytime she was spotted entering and leaving the hospital, she was constantly bombarded with questions regarding Michael's health. Of course, she never spoke about it due to him wanting some privacy, but apparently this wasn't enough for them and they wanted more. And let's just say some of these journalists took it a bit too far. An example of this is one journalist who dressed up and disguised himself as a priest in order to gain access to Michael's hospital room, in which he was thankfully immediately caught and escorted. Even those close with him did some shady things. A man who worked for the same Swiss helicopter that helped him take him to the hospital was arrested on suspicion of involvement in the theft and leaking of Michael's medical records. The man attempted to sell the records to numerous media outlets for around 50,000 euros. The unknown man's IP was traced and he was then shortly taken into custody. He was then sent to prison. However, the day after his prison sentence, he was found hanged in a cell the next morning. But besides wanting some answers regarding his health, another form of media was heavily wanted. In December 2016, many media outlets across Europe were offered pictures of Michael after his near-fatal crash for a high amount of money. But this brings up the question, who took the pictures? Well, unexpectedly, a close family friend secretly took pictures of Michael when he was lying paralyzed in bed while at the hospital. According to reports, the pictures of him were taken from his home in Geneva. An investigation was brought up and it was shortly announced to be a violation of his personal privacy and fight for his life. While there is proof that there is technically existence of the photo, it hasn't been shown to the public and will likely never release due to legal issues. This unfortunately isn't the latest problem with Michael Schumacher and his personal life, as in April 2023, an AI-generated interview was created by a German publication known as Die Aktuelle. The latest edition of the magazine had a front cover with a picture of Michael smiling with a headline reading, "Michael Schumacher, the first interview." This was considered groundbreaking since this would technically be the first time Michael came forward to talk about his health. But as it turned out, all the quotes from the interview were actually AI generated. The interview was published in Funk magazines and edited by Anne Hoffman. The publication group, magazine, and editor later apologized for their actions, as Anne explained that their misleading article should have never appeared, and that in no way corresponds with their standards of journalism from Funk magazine. The Schumacher family received a settlement of €200,000 in May 2024, which was paid by Funk magazines. It's 1938 in New York City, Manhattan. A Brooklyn resident by the name of Marion Perloff was working her everyday jobs as a stenographer and clerk for Girl Scouts Incorporated. Marion enjoyed working both of her jobs, and throughout her career, many of those associated with her didn't really see anything off about her until around May 1938. While at work, many of her colleagues recall Marion suffering from a nervous breakdown after being rejected from a marriage proposal at the last moment. Because of this stressful situation, Marion was forced to take a vacation just to give herself a little break and to hopefully get her mind off things. After coming back from her couple of weeks of vacation, she seemed to be doing a little better. Understandably, she was still in shock, but it was deemed that her mindset was headed in the right direction. This would drastically change just a week later after on June 23, 1938, as Marion's colleagues once again noticed that she was still in an anxious state of mind, and it seemed that her time off didn't help her that much as originally believed. As an attempt to relieve some of her stress, they asked if she wanted to go out for a work picnic date in Scarborough, New York. However, she insisted that she needed to call her sister. Marion never elaborated why she needed to urgently call her sister, but her colleagues didn't want her to worry about anything anymore, so they just allowed it and waited for her. They decided to travel via bus to the picnic spot, and it was assumed that Marion would meet up with them at the bus after her call, but surprisingly she never showed up. Time had gone by that day and Marion was still nowhere to be found. Even after they returned back from the picnic, none of her colleagues could find her. While this was all happening, an NBC truck was standing in the Rockefeller Plaza around 3:30 p.m. on June 23, 1938. At the moment, they were testing out a cable to NBC's control room. While using the iconoscope, cameraman Ross Plaisted was harnessing a brand new mobile unit and capturing footage and audio across Radio City, which included recording at the New York Times and Life building. While recording the front of the RCA building, Ross spotted a disturbing sight of a dark figure dropping from the 11th floor of the Time and Life building. But that dark figure that Ross spotted turned out to be Marion Perloff. A loud thud and bang noise was heard around the area, and Ross continued filming her as a large crowd of around 2,000 nearby residents swarmed around her with police officers shortly arriving on scene. Despite there being a huge crowd, Ross managed to get a precise view of her lifeless body. Ross was then interviewed by the press regarding what he had managed to capture. He stated that when he turned the camera toward the Time and Life building, he saw a falling body. The camera picked her up as she passed the 6th floor, and he followed her down. One of NBC's chief engineers, Obie Hansen, who was working with Ross at the time, also added on that the first thing they noticed was something that sounded like a pistol shot, so they turned the screen to see people running and surrounding the body. Marion Perloff was officially the first ever to be captured on TV cameras, but it didn't technically publicly air. Because of this, no photos or any footage are known to have survived, and are likely to never resurface. The only thing we have available are news articles briefly discussing the situation. If you made it to this point of the video, I just want to thank you so much for being here and for watching. Okay, so I actually don't think I've done an outro for like the past 2-3 videos, I think. Yeah, so I'm finally gonna be updating you guys just a little bit. So I haven't really been active on posting. I think last month I only posted one video, and this one, well, this is gonna be one video up, and I just want to let you guys know that whatever it may seem like, I haven't lost motivation for this channel. I've actually have 2 video topics that I'm going to be talking about. I'm already starting the script for both of them, so that just means that I'm on the right path, because usually when like after I record a video, I usually don't have like a clear idea on what the next video is going to be. So it's good that I actually have 2 video ideas, so that just means that I already know what I'm going to be talking about, and those videos are going to hopefully be out soon. But yeah, I'm going to go now. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you watching have a great rest of your day. But before you leave, don't leave yet. I have to tell you something very, 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 very important. I just want to let you know that I truly mean that. I truly hope you, yes you, the person I'm pointing to at right now, I truly hope you do have a great rest of your day. Alright, I'm gonna go now, but as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. Goodbye for now.